Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dog Mind Gears podcast by the Doggy Delight.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to jump into this one.
Yeah, so I want to start by having everyone just kind of imagine being, say, 9 years old and you're walking into a typical grocery store.
Oh, man. Sensory nightmare.
Right. Only for this kid, the hum of the fluorescent lights sounds like a literal jet engine. And the shifting colors in the aisles are blinding. Every passing shopping cart feels like a real physical threat.
Yeah.
The noise is just paralyzing. But then imagine having this four-legged, furry anchor just resting against your leg, a living, breathing, grounding mechanism that, instantly turns down the volume of the entire world.
That's a powerful image, and it's exactly what we're talking about today.
Exactly. So that is the mission of our deep dive today. We're unpacking this profoundly moving article from Dogozilla magazine all about autism service dogs. We really want to explore exactly how these highly trained animals are completely rewiring the daily reality for children on the spectrum.
It really is an incredible topic. And, it requires a total shift in how we view these animals. Like, we can't think of them simply as pets who just sit by the window waiting for us to come home.
Right.
In this deep dive, we really need to look at them as highly sophisticated, customized medical support systems. I mean, they are working professionals.
Yeah, working professionals is the perfect way to put it.
The science, the biology, and honestly, just the sheer dedication behind their training is astounding.
I'm so glad you brought up the science right out of the gate because, our audience is already pretty familiar with autism spectrum disorder. We know it's this complex developmental disability, no single cause, right? Just a mix of genes and environment.
Exactly.
And we know about the challenges, the severe sensory overloads, the communication hurdles, the repetitive behaviors, and honestly, the very real danger of a child wandering off or bolting.
The wandering is a massive fear for parents.
Yeah.
Massive.
Right. But what I really want to understand today is the interface. How does a dog actually solve a neurological processing issue? Because we aren't just talking about a comforting cuddle here, are we?
Not at all. No, we are talking about actual physiological intervention.
Okay.
So let's look at one of the most critical tasks these dogs are trained for. It's called deep pressure therapy, or DPT.
DP. Got it.
Yeah. So when a child on the spectrum is tipping into sensory overload, their brain is essentially hijacked by their sympathetic nervous system.
We go into fight or flight.
Exactly. Full fight or flight mode. Adrenaline is spiking. The dog is actually trained to recognize the very early subtle signs of this distress, and they will physically apply their body weight to the child.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they'll lay across their lap or press firmly against their chest.
Okay, let me just pause you right there. I understand the dog applying weight, but why does that actually stop a meltdown?
Well, because that specific deep pressure stimulates the child's vagus nerve.
Oh.
And that activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So it forces a biological shift from fight or flight to rest and digest.
So it's basically flipping a switch in their nervous system.
Literally. The dog's weight triggers the release of serotonin and dopamine. And at the exact same time, it lowers cortisol levels. So it physically slows the child's heart rate. It regulates their breathing. It basically brings their brain back online.
That is just fascinating. So it's essentially the exact same biological mechanism as a weighted blanket.
Yes.
But it's a weighted blanket that thinks and anticipates and deploys itself exactly when it's needed.
Precisely. That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And, a weighted blanket can't intervene if a child starts engaging in self-harming repetitive behaviors.
Right.
But the dog can.
Right, because it's alive.
Right. They're trained to deliver this gentle, persistent nudge to interrupt the loop. And a blanket also can't serve as a physical anchor in a chaotic environment or, retrieve emergency items or medication. The dog is this active, responsive partner.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit more because this is where it really feels like it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's almost like having a customized Swiss Army knife.
Oh, I love that.
But instead of tools, it's a living, breathing companion that is just tailored to a child's exact sensory needs.
Yes, that is exactly what it is. And knowing that these dogs are performing such high-level physiological interventions, it naturally brings up a major point of confusion out there in the real world.
Oh, absolutely. Because I see dogs in vests everywhere now. Everywhere.
It's everywhere.
So let me play devil's advocate for a second. Let's say I go online, I buy a very official-looking red vest, and I strap it onto my golden retriever. That doesn't automatically give me legal rights to take my dog into a restaurant, right?
Right.
So where are the actual legal lines drawn here?
That is such a vital distinction, and frankly, people blurring those lines causes a lot of problems for legitimate working teams.
I can imagine.
We really need to break down the three distinct categories. First, you have therapy dogs. Now, these are incredibly well-behaved dogs. They provide comfort to groups of people in places like hospitals, nursing homes, or schools.
Oh, like the dogs that visit during finals week at colleges.
Yes, exactly. They are wonderful, but they do not have specific disability training for a single handler. And they have absolutely no legal public access rights to enter non-pet friendly areas.
Got it. So therapy dogs are for group comfort with no special legal status. So what about companion dogs? Because I hear the term emotional support animal, or ESA, thrown around constantly.
Yeah, that's when it gets really confusing for people. So companion dogs, or ESAs, they provide immense psychological comfort and emotional security to their specific owners.
Right.
However, they require absolutely zero specialized task training. Their mere presence is the benefit.
Okay, so they don't do a specific job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because they're not trained to perform a specific task to mitigate a disability, they also do not have ADA legal protections. You cannot legally take an ESA into a grocery store or a restaurant.
Which brings us to the actual focus of our deep dive today. True service dogs.
Yes. Service dogs are highly trained to perform specific, recognizable tasks that mitigate a person's disability.
Like the deep pressure therapy we talked about.
Exactly. Or interrupting destructive behaviors, or alerting caregivers if a child bolts. Because they perform essential medical or psychiatric tasks, they are granted full legal access rights under the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA.
Meaning they can go anywhere.
Right. They are legally allowed to accompany their handlers anywhere the general public is allowed to go, as long as they are housebroken and don't pose a threat. And these dogs, they can be purpose-bred from specific working lines, or occasionally they can be rescue dogs.
Wait, really? A rescue dog can be a service dog?
Oh, absolutely. If they happen to possess the perfect, rare combination of a bomb-proof temperament and high trainability.
Okay, so if the ADA grants these dogs such high-level, unrestricted access to society, the standard for their behavior and their training must be just astronomically high.
Oh, it is.
How does a dog actually reach that level? Because you can't just take a random friendly puppy and assign it to a family.
No, definitely not. It is an incredibly meticulous, years-long process. The article we're looking at highlights a nonprofit organization called Integrity, Inc. to really demonstrate this.
Okay.
The steps to get a perfect match start long before the child ever meets an animal. The organization conducts this rigorous clinical assessment of the child's environment, their sensory triggers, their physical abilities, and really the family's overall dynamic.
And what are they looking for on the dog side of the equation?
They are looking for a behavioral mirror to the child's needs.
What do you mean by that?
Well, say a child has a tendency to bolt, right? And they need physical tethering or mobility support. The organization might select a larger, sturdier breed with a very steady gait.
Makes sense.
But if the primary issue is severe, paralyzing anxiety, they will select a dog with an incredibly low arousal threshold, a calm, deeply empathetic dog that naturally seeks prolonged physical contact.
So it's highly customized. I imagine the training timeline for something that specific is intense.
Oh, yeah. We are talking about a rigorous 2-year program.
2 years? Wow.
Yes. The first year is often just intensive socialization and basic obedience. The dog needs to be completely bomb-proof.
Right.
I mean, they need to be able to walk past a dropped hot dog in a loud, crowded amusement park without even breaking focus.
Good luck getting my dog to do that.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And only after they master all of that do they move into the specialized autism task training.
Okay, so going back to those tasks, you mentioned earlier that dogs are trained to recognize the early signs of a meltdown. I'm hung up on the mechanics of that, because how does a dog know a child is about to have a meltdown before the parents even know?
It all comes down to their olfactory capabilities, their sense of smell, and their acute observation skills. Dogs can actually smell the sudden spike in cortisol.
The stress hormone.
Exactly, sweating through a child's pores.
Wait, they can smell the stress. That is wild.
It is wild. And they can also detect micro shifts in a child's breathing rate, or subtle changes in their facial expressions that human parents might just miss in a really busy environment. They are actively trained to respond to those invisible triggers.
That is just mind-blowing to me. They're literally smelling the anxiety before it manifests behaviorally.
Yeah.
Now, here's an area where I want to push back a little, or at least ask for clarity based on the article.
Sure.
The material mentions dogs helping nonverbal children master communication.
Yes.
How exactly does an animal that cannot speak help a child learn to communicate?
It sounds like a paradox, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But they act as a living, breathing translator.
Okay, explain that.
So many children on the spectrum find direct eye contact with humans to be physically painful or just overwhelmingly intense. They struggle to read human facial expressions.
Right.
But a dog provides a safe, uncomplicated alternative. Trainers actually teach the dog to respond to simple commands like look or watch. And by directing the child's attention to the dog models the appropriate social response.
Oh, I see.
So if a friendly stranger approaches, the dog remains calm, maybe wags its tail, and maintains soft eye contact. The dog is non-verbally signaling to the child, this environment is safe. This interaction is positive.
I love that. It's like the dog is a lightning rod for social static. They just ground the energy of the room.
Exactly.
And I assume this plays heavily into how they enhance social skills on a broader level.
Massively. Here's where it gets really interesting. Think about a crowded playground.
Okay.
A child with autism might be playing entirely alone. They might want to connect, but finding the pressure of initiating a conversation is completely paralyzing.
Right, because walking up to another kid and just saying hello requires navigating this whole maze of unwritten social rules.
Yeah.
It's exhausting to process.
Exactly. It's a lot of pressure. But when that child have a highly trained, beautiful service dog by their side, the dog becomes a social buffer.
An icebreaker.
Yes, an icebreaker.
Yeah.
Other children naturally approach. The autistic child doesn't have to initiate anything. The environment comes to them.
Oh.
And instead of the child having to invent a topic of conversation, the dog is the shared point of interest. Other kids ask, what's his name? Or can he do a trick?
Oh, that's brilliant.
The autistic child gets to practice structured, predictable conversation skills just by giving the dog a command and talking about their companion.
They get to be the expert in the interaction.
Exactly.
That has to do wonders for their confidence.
It goes beyond just talking to strangers.
Right.
Because the child is also learning empathy by interacting with the dog itself.
Yes, because they have to read the dog's nonverbal cues. They learn to recognize when the dog is hungry, when it's tired, or when it just needs a break.
Right.
Engaging in shared reciprocal activities, even something as simple as playing fetch. It builds an emotional bridge. It creates this safe, non-judgmental environment for the child to practice reading another being's needs.
Okay, so this all sounds incredibly idyllic. But let's be realistic for a second.
Let's do it.
We are talking about taking a family that is already managing the intense daily demands of raising a child on the spectrum.
And we are handing them a high-level working animal. A dog still needs to be walked, fed, taken to the vet, engaged with. Doesn't adding this massive new responsibility risk completely overwhelming the parents?
That is honestly the most critical question, and it's exactly why legitimate organizations do not just hand over a leash and wish the family good luck.
Right, they can't just walk away.
No. The matching and the 2 years of dog training are really only the first half of the equation. The second half is what we call team training, and it requires immense commitment from the parents.
So it's not just handing over a leash, it's almost like learning a new language for the whole family.
It absolutely is. I mean, the family basically has to go to dog handling school. It's like installing a new operating system for the entire household. The parents have to learn the specific, highly nuanced commands the dog was trained with. They have to learn how to accurately interpret the dog's body language.
Right.
They spend weeks practicing how to navigate public spaces, restaurants, transit systems, all as a cohesive unit. And yes, they have to rigidly schedule the dog's downtime, exercise, and veterinary care.
Because if they don't,
If the dog's needs aren't met, the dog cannot perform its job for the child.
it's a totally symbiotic relationship. The family takes care of the dog, so the dog can take care of the child.
Exactly.
And this relationship is heavily monitored even after they go home, right? The source text dives into continuous support and recertification. So this isn't just a one-and-done certification.
Not at all. Organizations like Integrity Inc. mandate recertification every 2 years.
Really? Why so frequent? Once the dog knows the job, doesn't it just know the job?
Well, because the variables are constantly shifting. First of all, the dog is aging.
Oh, true.
Sometimes their public access skills get a little sloppy and they just need to be sharpened up. But more importantly, the child is growing. A 7-year-old's sensory triggers and physical needs are very different from a 9-year-old's.
Mm.
So during recertification, the trainers evaluate if the dog needs to learn entirely new tasks to adapt to the child's developmental changes.
That makes total sense. The support system has to evolve with the kid.
Yeah.
And there was a detail in the research that I found profoundly moving, actually, regarding the end of the dog's career.
Mm-hmm.
When a dog reaches retirement age, which is usually around 8 to 10 years old, or if they develop a health issue, the child isn't just left abandoned.
No, and that is a massive fear for these families. The dog literally becomes the child's lifeline. Removing that lifeline abruptly could cause severe regression.
Right.
So to prevent that catastrophic gap in support, these clinics work proactively to train and provide a successor dog before the original dog fully retires.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and the retired dog often stays with the family as a beloved pet while the new dog takes over the actual working duties.
Okay, so the logistics of all this. You've got 2 years of professional training, team training, ongoing recertification, successor dogs. It brings us to a very harsh reality.
The cost.
The cost. Understanding your rights and responsibilities also means understanding the financial burden. The ADA guarantees your right to public access, but the ADA doesn't pay for the dog.
It certainly does not. And the financial consideration is significant. A fully trained autism service dog typically costs between $20,000 and $60,000.
$60,000. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
I understand why. You're paying for 2 years of boarding, high-quality food, vet care, and thousands of hours of highly specialized labor from expert trainers. So the math checks out.
It does.
But how on earth is that accessible to an average family?
Well, out of pocket, it usually isn't. But this is where the nonprofit infrastructure comes in. Organizations like Integrity Inc. do not typically hand a family a bill for $60,000.
Okay, yeah.
Right. They utilize massive fundraising networks, corporate sponsorships, and grants to offer these dogs on sliding scale fees, or sometimes entirely free of charge.
That is incredible.
They also coach families on how to run their own community fundraising campaigns to cover whatever placement fees might exist. The goal is always to remove the financial barrier to this life-changing medical equipment.
And to really drive home why that immense effort and cost is worth it, I want to pivot to the human element for a second.
Yes, let's do that.
The personal stories of the families who actually go through this. Let's look at Emily.
Okay.
She's a 12-year-old girl whose primary struggles were crippling anxiety and severe sensory overload, which basically made attending school or going to public places entirely impossible for her.
Right. Emily's world was shrinking fast. But then she was matched with Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlie's specific training provided Emily with this constant, predictable, calming presence. So when the fluorescent lights at school became too much, Charlie was there to lean against her. He provided that vagus nerve stimulation we talked about earlier.
And her mother noted that Charlie didn't just help her survive social situations. He actually gave her the confidence to actively engage with them. He became family.
Yeah, it completely changed her daily life.
And then there's the story of 9-year-old Alex. His presentation of autism was different from Emily's. He was largely nonverbal. He struggled deeply to communicate even basic needs.
And as a result of that immense frustration, he suffered from frequent explosive meltdowns.
Right.
Now, Alex's story perfectly illustrates the physiological intervention we've been discussing. He was paired with a dog named Luna.
Mm-hmm.
And Luna possessed that incredible ability to smell the cortisol spikes.
Wow, yeah.
She could sense Alex's internal emotional state escalating long before a meltdown visually manifested. By initiating deep pressure therapy early, she provided a profound sense of security that intercepted the panic entirely.
There's a quote from Alex's father that really stuck with me. He said that Luna gave Alex a voice he never had.
What stands out to you about that phrase? Giving him a voice.
Well, if you're listening to this, imagine what it means to give a nonverbal child a voice without forcing them to speak a single word.
It's a beautiful realization.
Yeah.
I mean, communication isn't just about vocalizing words.
Right.
By removing the overwhelming sensory static that was keeping Alex trapped in a state of constant fight or flight, Luna created a safe mental space. She allowed his brain to regulate enough that he could finally interact with the world on his own terms.
Yeah.
She didn't teach him to talk. She gave him agency.
Which really is the ultimate goal here, looking at the entire journey. I mean, from intentionally selecting puppies with specific behavioral traits through the 2 years of intense biological and behavioral training.
Meticulous matching process.
Yeah, the heavy lift of family team training all the way to ongoing certification. It is a monumental undertaking.
It really is.
but the results are undeniable.
They are completely undeniable. The combination of custom training and ongoing organizational support clearly leads to enhanced social skills, drastically reduced stress, and the mitigation of life-threatening behaviors like bolting.
It gives these kids a completely different trajectory for their future, all built on a foundation of just unconditional, highly competent support.
It truly does. And as we wrap up our analysis today, I'd really like to leave everyone with a broader thought to kind of chew on.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've talked deeply about how these dogs change the life of the individual child. But consider what happens to the social dynamics of an entire community when we integrate these highly empathetic working dogs into our everyday spaces.
That's interesting.
Like our public schools, our grocery stores, our local playgrounds. Does witnessing this profound, silent bond between a child and their service dog teach all of us as bystanders to be a little more observant,
Yeah.
a little more patient, and a little more empathetic to the unseen struggles of the people around us?
Thank you for listening, dear dog lovers. And if you have any questions, visit the source article on Dogozilla magazine at dogozilla.com. That was all for this episode, and until the next time, bye-bye to all listeners of the Dog Mind Gears podcast.